Hello, everybody. Welcome back to First Gen Failures. Today we have a very fun episode planned, something kind of more lighthearted, but also like delving into our past again a little bit. We hope you guys are doing good. It's been a tough time with school reopening and everything. It's just so many things are going on, but we hope you're doing well. So pretty much the topic of today's episode is going to be things that foreign parents are weird about. So just growing up as foreign children or immigrant children, we experienced a fairly different childhood as a result of, cultural discord, standards, traditional practices in our respective cultures, and they do definitely differ from culture to culture, but there is kind of like this overarching like experience, like there's quite a bit of notable examples of this that we want to talk about today because we know for a fact that a lot of people can relate to these things, so we just wanted to point them out.
This is a disclaimer. This is definitely a generalized list. These are just things that me, Eileen, and some of our friends can relate to. This is not meant to say that we are mad at our parents for not letting us do these things. We've both been brought up very well. But
Yes, very
these are
much
just some
so.
things we like talking about to, just laugh about. The first one is sleepovers. In my perspective, I've had sleepovers pretty early as a child. I think like a normal age, I guess. Like around like 7 to 8 when I had my first sleepover. But it was always with my closest family friends. And to this day, they're my best friends. But every time I asked my parents, like growing up in middle school or high school, if I asked them like, hey, can I go sleep over at blah blah blah's house? And they weren't Indian, they didn't live close to us. My parents were super like scared about it. They're like, no, like I don't want you going. Like, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable with it. So that's how they still feel like that to this day.
So they've been like pretty apprehensive just in general with like American or like not family friend kind of people.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I did not have that kind of experience. For me, I was never, ever able to have or attend sleepovers until like maybe the seventh or eighth grade when I invited two of my closest middle school friends over to my house for a birthday sleepover. I had no idea that my parents would ever say yes to anything like that because I'd grown up just like no sleepovers. Like, that's so weird. I wasn't allowed to attend a sleepover until like, yeah, maybe like the eighth grade, and it was a pretty much like a super surreal experience for me. I literally had no idea how other people's households were run. And like I went to like my American friend's house and I was like so surprised by the way that they did things, like in terms of like, oh, I don't know, like dinner plans or like walking in the house with your shoes on, just things like that. Like I'd never seen
Yeah.
that before. My parents were always just like super wary of having me at a sleepover at a non-family member's house because it's so odd in Iranian culture. It's really taboo to sleep in a house with people of the opposite gender that you're not like biologically related to. Like for example, just like my friends' brothers or fathers in the same house that like I'd be sleeping in. Personally, I'm glad to break the taboo because I really don't care for these kinds of things. But my parents are kind of still wary of me going to sleepovers, but I think they're more used to it now that we've lived in America for like all this time.
I want to go back to the thing that you said earlier. It was so interesting to see how other people's houses are run. I find that so interesting. Like when I went to like my first sleepover that wasn't with Indian people, I was so confused. I was like, "You guys wear shoes in your house? Like, how is that okay? Like, what?" Or like just like tiny things I never noticed, or like how people, at least in our family, we never load the dishwasher. All our dishes are done by hand. Like my mom's never used it, only because she said like, it wastes a lot of water. It's better doing it by hand. You learn better that way. So I've always done it by hand, but then I was like, oh, like we don't know, we just load the dishwasher. It's fine, like whatever. Or how like people's rooms were so messy because if my room was messy, my mom would literally beat my behind. It's not even like a messy house is a bad house, but for me, like it was so weird seeing other people's houses being run that way, or like how they talk to their parents.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one too. For me, like one of the most like crazy things was just how loud other people's houses are. For my house, my mom's pretty much the head of the household here, but like she has like
Mm.
really sensitive ears. So growing up, loud noises and like just like making a lot of noise in any sense of the word is like not allowed. Like she would get pissed, she'd get like migraines. Yeah, that's a big thing. She'd get a lot of migraines.
Oh.
So I'd go to like other people's houses and there would be like so much noise and they wouldn't really be bothered by it, because, they just grew up that way. But like for me, I was just like always on my toes, like, oh my God, my mom's gonna get a migraine. And I'm like, calm down, like your mom's not even here. But yeah, it's definitely really interesting to see like how other people's households are run because it's like so different. Like even from foreign person to foreign person. Like you said that your family doesn't load the dishwasher. My family does load the dishwasher, but there's different things that different families do, which I think is really interesting to see in sleepovers. I think that's one of the coolest things about them. Like, yeah, hang out with your friends, making midnight cookies, but like I
Yeah.
really I really like the whole like seeing other people's houses thing.
Another thing that me and Eileen found that were different were clothing and basic swimwear, like bikinis. I was never allowed to wear. Only until recently, my mom allowed me to buy some of my first, but she was like, you can only wear them around like your friends, your school friends, like your outside friends. Like you like don't wear them in community pool because literally like my whole community is Indian people, and I'm pretty sure they'd have a stroke seeing someone in a bikini, which is not even that big of a deal, but they would just like they would gossip. It's just not a good situation. I remember my first ever beach days with my school friends. I wore a shirt and shorts in the 8th grade, and everyone looked at me and they're like, "What are you wearing?" And I was like, "What are you wearing?" And they're like, "Dude, like just like here." Like they threw me on their bikinis. I was like, I can't wear this. Like I don't feel comfortable. And they were like, "No, dude, like it's fine. Like we're all wearing them." And they're like, "We love to get tan." And then I looked at myself. I was like, "Yeah, I don't really feel the same way." But and then that kind of definitely contributed a good amount of body dysmorphia because like as I wear them now, like I haven't grown up wearing them. So I feel really like out of place, like ew, like why do I look like that? Like I'm not comfortable looking at myself like that because I was never allowed to wear these things. My parents were just like, no, that's like you're being like too scandalous. And I'd be like I never really understood why it was so wrong to wear one because everyone else I'd see it at beaches or other pools I would see wear them, but I was just I don't know. It took a lot of convincing for my mom to be like mom, like let me wear something normal to the beach, please.
Yeah. Well, for my family, bikinis were never even like on the table. Like maybe when I was like super little, I went to like my cousin's house. My cousins are like born and raised in America and their family has been in America for a lot longer than we have. And like I'd see them wearing bikinis and like they'd let me try them on and like just the face of like my parents when that happened like it haunts me to this day. But I was never ever allowed to wear any kind of like revealing clothing growing up. Still I'm not. But I think that shorts, especially above the knee, were a particular sore spot for like the people in my family. I've had to like struggle with them for so long just to let me wear like any kind of like shorts. I remember that my mom picked me up one day from summer camp when I was like maybe 9 years old. And she saw that I'd rolled up my leggings all the way up my thigh because I felt like really hot. This is like Los Angeles. Me and like my little Bob just wearing like black leggings, just pull them all the way up
Oh.
because it was so hot. And like I just saw all these other girls at summer camp wearing these shorts and bikinis. And when she came to pick me up, she was appalled. She was like, "Oh, what's your dad gonna say? What's your father
Ugh,
gonna
my
say?"
mom says that all the time.
Yeah, like that just became her motto whenever I dressed immodestly or like, "Wait until your father sees this." She never really had as much of an issue with clothing as my dad did, but my dad was raised a lot more religiously than my mom was and has never approved of me wearing like anything immodest. It's definitely a pretty big cultural norm in just Persian culture. My parents grew up in a system where immodesty could get you killed, pretty much. So it's really ingrained in them that like dressing immodestly is like dangerous almost, but also like kind of shameful. Dressing quote unquote immodestly in like the loosest sense of the word, like spaghetti straps, shorts, etc., is seen as really unprofessional, and girls are seen as like dumb or whorish if they wear things like that. When I got my very first pair of pink bedazzled justice shorts in the fourth grade, I like wore them to this restaurant that night, and my dad was just like really uncomfortable for the whole dinner, worried that people are gonna like look at me and get the wrong idea or whatever. I guess like legs are a really big thing in like Persian culture. Like I know here we're like butt and boobs, but like in Iran it's just all about legs, I guess. I'm not really sure, but I was only like 9 years old. Like I was really, really excited and proud of like these new shorts that I got, grinning ear to ear. But it really hurt when my dad couldn't share that same excitement with me that like my mom and I shared. And I know that different families have different ideas about what is modest and what is immodest. Like, for example, when I was in middle school, one of my American friends found it really odd that I was allowed to wear leggings so often because she wasn't allowed to wear leggings unless a shirt was long enough to cover her butt, which is like a different taboo. Like in America, we kind of glorify like butt and boobs, but like in Iran, it's more about legs. So I was just allowed to wear leggings, but she wasn't. She was allowed to wear running shorts, and I wasn't. So, different standards, different taboos, body parts, whatever. Anyway, my family's really weird attitudes about dress are probably a big root of my self consciousness, just like you said before, and why I dress pretty modestly by choice now. I guess I learned early on that people shouldn't or won't want to see my body, and I've just kind of acted accordingly, like, kind of like got the message, moved on. Also, I recognize that a lot of people feel very empowered by modesty. I'm just noting that this choice wasn't always put in my hands. So it's not really like a choice of like whether or not I wish to be modest. It's just like this is your option. Go with it, you know?
Yeah, I see that. And definitely when you like relate it back to cultural context, saying that immodesty could get you killed, like I get why your parents would be so scared. My parents were definitely not like that. In India, unless you're in like a big city like Mumbai or Delhi, you can wear shorts. It's fine. Anytime I go to any other city, like even smaller cities, men will look at you so weird. If look, I was like 8, I was wearing capris, and they were looking at me so weird, and like I was scared. So in India, they have a big thing with dressing like that, or like you're not allowed to wear tank tops anywhere. Like don't. But then in saris, you wear blouses that are literally just like glorified crop tops. There's definitely a little bit of a double standard there, but
Mm-hmm.
body hair removal. For me, I was not allowed to shave till the 7th grade, and that too was after like tremendous begging. I remember like wearing a dress or whatever you wore in the 6th grade. I don't know. It's like a fever dream, but I like literally would wear these denim shorts. I'd wear skirts, and I have really hairy legs because I'm an Indian woman, and was made fun of by literally everyone, other Indians, white people, like just everyone made fun of me, and I was like, oh, but 6th grade me was resilient. I was pretty sure I wore shorts like even though I didn't shave. Like yeah, she's not who I am now, but I wish I was still her. I was not allowed to get my eyebrows done until freshman year of high school, and my mustache waxed until my sophomore year of high school. So that's when I know I did it behind my mom's back. Like I know I took a shaving razor and ran it through my. It was not the cutest look. I'm so sorry if you were friends with me back then, but you got to do what you got to do.
I think everyone has gone through the wide eyebrow phase.
I know some people still go through it. It's still sad.
Well, yeah, in terms of just like body hair removal, I could definitely relate to what you're saying. Obviously, I come from like Middle Eastern descent. We're not really known for being the most hairless people on the on Earth. But yeah, just growing up, one of the first things that people would ever tell me,
Blondes.
"You have a mustache." Like, "Oh, oh, oh, thank you so much." Like I had no idea. I don't look at the mirror. Nobody's ever told me this in my entire life, but it often led many people to assume that I was unsanitary. And this is like kind of common. Just like you see like a little girl with like hair and you're like, you're gross, you're unsanitary, you are unclean. It's as if cleanliness was the reason why I grew hair in places that my white peers didn't, or that my hair was darker. Like that's not why. Like I didn't like eat dirt and my hair came out darker. Like I don't know. It was just kind of like it was just like nobody ever said it outright, but it was kind of like this attitude of like, ugh, gross. Like, anyway, I would get pretty hurt by it growing up, but around the 7th grade, I was like so sick of it. We used Nair to get it off. You know, Nair, like that like chemical stuff that you rub on yourself. Yeah. Oh my God, it smells like eggs. Ugh. But yeah, around the same time, I started to nair my legs too, just to wear those shorts that I was never allowed to wear. But I don't think that I've ever had that much of a confidence boost in like my entire life, which has led me to like question like why are so many parents so reluctant to let their kids, especially daughters, remove hair in unwanted places if it causes them so many like issues in like school or like just with their peers or whatever. Like I get the whole like embrace it and then take it off. But like I think that's just stupid for hair. Like I don't know, I don't get it. I guess some people might feel that way, but I don't feel that way. But yeah, nowadays I can go like quite a while without shaving because of how like modestly I dress, and I choose to remove like hair mostly as a result of personal preference.
For me, like I probably shave every day because my hair grows back so fast and it's horrible, but these genes are really just getting the best of me. But I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like if I have ever had a daughter and she was being made fun of for her arm hair or leg hair, I'd be like, "Hey, if you want to shave, you can shave." Like body hair there's no cultural significance of body hair in my culture. I just never understood why my mom never wanted me to shave pets. So families, I don't know, immigrant families are really opposed to having pets in the house. The house has to be sparkling with the lack of animals. So I know that both of us have grown up in really clean households. Our mothers or fathers work really hard to keep them clean because that's how they like it. And animals are something like dirt, filth. Like you have to clean them after the race. You have to feed them. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So I have literally been begging for a dog ever since I stepped foot in this country like 12 years ago. But to no avail, like no pets. My family, my mom never grew up with any kind of pets, like at all. But my dad's family used to like play with the thousands of like stray
Oh.
cats that roam Iran, and they also kept some chickens, which often got eaten by those cats, but they were rarely seen as like pets, but almost rather like part of the landscape or like part of the garden almost. My mother is the definition of a germaphobe and a neat freak, so even the thought of pets has like never like crossed her mind. And I find that this is the same with a lot of immigrant families. Like we're not allowed to have pets, and there's also a stereotype where like if you are like foreign and you have a pet, you're rich. So just wanted to throw out that stereotype. Don't know if that's
Yeah.
true, but just to talk about our lovely social news of the week, which kind of does relate to last week's episode about reopening schools, especially in Duval County. Sorry, yeah. Trump has decided to cancel the Republican National Convention in Jacksonville, Florida. So, this is mostly because virus cases have surged across Jacksonville and Florida at large because of how incredibly careful people have been in terms of following health regulations and guidelines here. We love it. We love it here. But yeah, Trump's switching back and forth between Jacksonville and North Carolina has cost the GOP in Jacksonville something over like $20 million, which like kind of sucks, but Biden is currently ahead of the polls in Florida, so Trump was like trying really hard to push for some of the senior votes in the state to get like the old people to vote, but they're like really at risk in Florida right now. He realized that it would be too much of a health risk, especially as many GOP leaders reported that they would not be attending, which is kind of like not a really good look for him. This is actually quite a bit of a surprise because he predicted just a few weeks ago that the virus would, and I quote, just disappear. So,
If you were choosing on doing hybrid, the only thing that, well, not the only, but something they were considering is the Republican National Convention and how cases were probably going to surge after all those people came here. Now that that's not happening, I'm not sure what's going to happen, if they're going to, how early or late they're going to resume going back to 5 days a week.
thank you so much for listening to our podcast episode today. We did hope that you enjoyed it, even though it was a little bit all over the place. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to our podcast on any of the major podcast streaming applications. And if you're not able to do that, just know that we do upload every single episode onto our YouTube channel, just First Gen Failures. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you did enjoy it, it would greatly help our podcast out.
Follow our Instagram at First Gen Failures. We regularly update it with the arrival of new episodes. And yeah, that is all that we have for today. Thank you for listening.